I really get tired of seeing the sides bickering. I get tired of seeing families ripped apart. And so, what can we do? I think the biggest thing that I want to ask of you is to be aware of the effect that extremism and chaos is having on you. Welcome to Frontline Women, a show dedicated to women on the leading edge of change and culture renewal in America. I'm Dalisia Coppersmith, and I'll be your host and guide as we explore emerging issues and opportunities for women to lead side by side with men every day. So let's get off the sideline and onto the front line right now. Let's talk about how we can be a calm force in the face of chaos, in the face of what's going on today with political extremism, fights within families, all the things that we see going on. Because if we don't think that chaos and extremism are affecting us, we're not paying attention. It's in every family, it's in every workplace, it's in every community. So how can you be a calm force instead of being a force of chaos or destructiveness? And most of all, how can you just feel a sense of calm and peace inside as our society works through this problem? Because I believe we will. We know that things over history, they come and go. So we'll have extremism on one side or the other, or both. We'll have a period of peace for a while. We may go to war, and then we'll have a period of peace after that. And so we have to believe that this is a phase that we're going to hopefully learn something from. We'll see. But this is our life, right? These are the years, the days, the hours, and the minutes of our life. And so if you are contributing in a positive way, wherever you are, I think that you'll have more peace inside. You can't control what everybody else does. So today may be a reminder for you. It hopefully will bring you a sense of peace in your day and help you to feel that you can control the way that you feel. You can control the way that you contribute to others' feelings, because we don't get these minutes and hours and days back, right? We have one shot to affect each other in a positive way. Most of you know, and I'm not going to get into politics, one side or the other. I have no desire to talk to you about that today. I'm a moderate. Most of you know that. I have voted Republican. I've voted Democrat. I've voted, I think, for an independent, if I remember correctly, years ago. And so I'm a moderate. And I really get tired of seeing the sides bickering. I get tired of seeing families ripped apart. And so what can we do? I think the biggest thing that I want to ask of you is to be aware of the effect that extremism and chaos is having on you. Are you getting pulled into it? Do you feel yourself just getting pulled into it as you watch the news or listen to podcasts, as you research what's going on in our world online? Do you feel yourself getting pulled into it? Do you feel yourself, brimming with anger every single day? Or are you able to regulate and moderate, how much this is affecting you and when it affects you? Because it's there. We can't really avoid it. I mean, if you turn on the radio in your car, log in online, get emails and text messages from political parties, it's pretty insane right now. So what can you do about it? How can you protect your heart and your peace? And how can you have a better impact on other people, including your family members? So there are a few things that I wanted to mention today that I hope bring you back to the center, not necessarily politically. You can be whatever, side of this you want to be on, but bring you back to center emotionally, psychologically, even physically, because some of this affects our physical health as well. So let's take inventory of a few things. And again, this is not to point out one political party over the other, because I think both are causing some chaos. All right. And so it's more about how you are dealing with the messages, the information that's coming in from all the different sources that are out there today. What are you doing with that information, and how are you letting it affect your feelings and your behaviors? So let's take a look. If we want to be a source of calm in the chaos, what can we do? Well, the first thing that I was thinking about this morning was we can approach conversations and give ourselves, any job that we want to in a conversation. For example, we can be in a conversation with a family member or a friend or a colleague, and we can give ourselves the job of winning the argument. And the other person may have no desire to be in an argument with you whatsoever. But when we approach everything with this argumentative stance, because online, that's all we see, right? We see people trying to convince each other and trying to prove themselves right. So being really keenly aware of what job you're giving yourself in a conversation with a person. And if you have let all of the chaos online affect you, I'll say infect you, then your position is usually going to be, I need to win this argument. I need to prove them wrong. I need to crush this person because they have different beliefs. And when we go into a conversation like that, especially if we kind of in an egotistical way enjoy it, the other person may not be enjoying it so much. Now, if they don't want to engage with you, here's what I've seen a lot of people do. They feel superior to that person because that person has no desire to change your mind. They don't even want to be in the conversation. And a lot of people use, well, I'll say they select data that supports their argument for something. So they get themselves all primed up with data. They're ready to debate, and then they strike. And the other person is going along in their day and they have no desire to be in this debate. They didn't go and just, scrape the internet for the most recent data that supports their argument. And so then what does that leave a person to do is just feel superior and right in the situation. And they keep repeating that cycle over and over and over. And I would love to say that it's mostly men doing this, but it's not. Okay. Women are getting sucked into extremism and political arguments, even within their families and their friend groups, at work even. And so I'm not talking to the men right here. I'm asking women to stop doing that. Literally just knock it off. Because number one, you're not going to change somebody else's mind when you're talking past each other. And that's what I see the left and the right doing. They're talking past each other. And selective data is pulled into the arguments, and they're not even able to listen. If I could do one thing to help this situation, I would love to go to campuses or community events and show people how to listen to each other, facilitate people on different sides listening to each other. And that's a very different thing than coming in to argue, because we're not going to convince people that their beliefs are wrong. Most likely, we're not going to convince them that. So the best that we can possibly do is to try to understand each other. Can you see how the person arrived at the feelings and beliefs that they hold? That's the only goal that we should really have is going in to listen. Can I understand how they see the world? What things are most important to them? And then does that then shift a little bit what I think the right solution is? It doesn't mean that I believe the same thing or that I agree with them. So that's giving yourself a very different job in a conversation, instead of how can I win or how can I change this person? How can I inflict pain upon this person because they feel differently? When we give ourselves that job, our behavior is not great, and we're definitely not going to change the other person's mind. Now, let's compare it with if I go in giving myself the job of creating calm in this situation, in bringing peace to the situation, then we're thinking, what good can I do here? What good can I do with this other person? And when we go in to crush or to win or to embarrass somebody, you're not really doing any good whatsoever. So if you want to think about the good that you can do, first of all, spend 80% of your time, or be willing to spend 80% of your time listening to the other person, understanding how they arrived at the position that they hold, not to agree with them, but just to see the world the way that they see it. All right. So that doesn't put you from left to right or from right to left. It just helps you peek over the fence and understand, what's going on in their world, and why they are choosing the actions and the beliefs that they have. So giving yourself the job of having a positive impact on the conversation, maybe bringing their temperature down by bothering to understand them. So that is one way we can bring calm to chaos that's going on right now, is just understanding each other. And that's your only job in the conversation, is to see the world the way that they see it. They are more likely, I'm not going to say they're going to do it, but they are more likely then to give you a few minutes to share how you see the world. And this is just kind of a concept of being willing to spend 80% of your time listening. If you are willing to do that, you're not going to need an equal amount of airtime. The person's their feelings, their anger, if they have anger, their frustration over not being heard in the past, maybe that will all calm right down if you truly are listening to them. And then when you share your views, you really only need the other 20% of the time in the conversation, because they're actually able to listen to you. And you state right there that, look, we're probably not going to, change each other's minds, but wouldn't it be nice if we understood each other? So that's the first thing I'd say. Give yourself the job of bringing peace to the conversation and understanding the other person. The other thing that I thought about today is in relation to, our ego versus our sense of a true sense of self-worth and peaceful compassion, because it always feels better to be in that space than it does in ego space. I think when we're operating from ego, it's like candy. It's like sugar, not really good nutrition. You might think you're enjoying it, but it has an overall negative effect. So are we using anger as fuel for our ego? Because I believe that. I think our ego thrives, on using anger for fuel. So if you're in that space where you're generating all this anger to fuel, your ego so that you can feel superior to people, we want to watch out for that. All right. And you'll know it just by what I'm talking about if you kind of fall into that. Because I think we all do from time to time. Let me say that, because I'm not a perfect person. But what I'd like for us to do is recognize when we're in that space, when we're using anger as our fuel, and it's only fueling our ego. It's not fueling anything good. Now, okay, let's switch to the other side. What is that calm presence that we're after? How do we approach that? I think our sense of peace or real self-esteem uses compassion for fuel. All right. Because what I was just talking about is how our ego uses anger for fuel. Well, our peace or our sense of real self-worth uses compassion for fuel. When we are demonstrating and operating from a place of compassion, real compassion, not fake compassion, that I think our sense of self-worth becomes even more firm, even more grounded. And we feel that sense of peace inside, no matter what's happening, even if we're in the middle of a riot, if we're operating from a place of calm confidence and compassion, then we really can't be moved, but it's a sense of peace. It's a peaceful stillness. So that's another thing. Let's look at, are we operating from anger and ego, or are we operating from a sense of peace and compassion in the situation? The third thing that I thought about this morning was, what is the limit to the fighting that you're seeking out? Because there's some people that there really is no limit. They just keep upping the ante on the amount of bickering and fighting and anger that they walk around with every day. So make a decision for yourself. What's the limit, of the fighting and the anger that you're going to tolerate in your life every day? For some people, there's no limit. And I feel like that's really sad. They've not made a conscious choice of where they're going to say, all right, I'm going to disengage from this situation. This is toxic for me and my family. I think I need to just step away from this. Some people stay in all of the bickering and the ugliness right now, and they think that they're feeding off of it like in a good way, and it's not. It's not helping anything at all, and it's only ruining their hours and their days and their months. The last thing that I thought about today is, what is your mission in all of this? Kind of like I said, we give ourselves a job in a conversation. I think in all this chaos that's happening today in America, and again, I hope and pray that it is a temporary thing that we learn and grow from sooner than later. But what is the mission that you're giving yourself in all of this? Is your mission to crush people who disagree with you? And again, I don't care if you're on the left or on the right, doesn't matter to me. Most of us are in the middle. But is it your mission right now to crush people who disagree with you, to feel like you are justified in anything that you say or do because they are so bad? So if you, from the get-go, before you even opened your mouth and talked to a person, if you've already decided your mission is to crush them, then who's bringing the toxicity to the situation? It may not be the other person. You may just be reeling them into your toxicity. So let's knock that off. The other side of it, okay, looking at, how do I bring peace? How do I become a calming force in these situations? You might think it's not my responsibility to prove anything to this person. I don't need to go and mine the internet for data that supports my values or my arguments for something. It's not my job to prove anything to them. The only thing that I should be doing, if I'm invited to, is sharing what I believe and hoping that they understand, that they can see. but it's not my job, it's not my responsibility to change them or to shape their views. I'm only responsible for myself. I'm only responsible for myself, the way I impact other people, and the way I play out my values. And let me say just a little bit more about that before I before I end this, because I don't want to go on. This is not a sermon, all right? I'm just trying to add to your day a little bit and help you to feel like you do have some control over what's going on in your world right now. But when we talk about values, that word has been weaponized by both sides, and I don't think it's helping anything. Because if your values are something that you are using to justify horrendous behavior, I don't think that's really your values at work. So let's start to separate what truly is, our set of values from what we are, I'm going to say, using, like playing off of that. In the name of values, I'm going to behave this way. All right. And if we don't start separating what is truly, a value in our life from what is just a justification for bad behavior, we're not going to get anywhere, because people are doing all kinds of terrible things in the name of their God, whatever their God is. People are doing all kinds of things in the name of what's right for the people. Like, are you really trying to do what's right for all the people, or are you justifying your behavior by what you say is right for people? So let's do a better job of sorting through what real values are versus justifications. All right. So I don't know if this is hitting home for anybody. I think we all get reeled into the chaos, but I would love for our community to start having a positive impact on others. That we can, in any situation, no matter how hot the argument is that's going on around us, that we can decide we're not going to add fuel to the fire, but we're going to be a calming presence with our friends and our family members and our colleagues. So I hope that this helps you. If there's a situation you're going into today, maybe you pick up the phone and you've got that family member who just will not stop attacking you politically. Just decide that you're not going to get sucked into it. And if you need to end the conversation, end the conversation. All right. That's much better than losing the relationship. So let's be that calm presence in the storm that's out there, and value the few years that we have on this planet, and know that we are responsible for our own peace. All right, ladies, have a great day, a great week, and I'll see you again next week.